Are you intrigued by the unfolding geopolitical landscape involving China, Saudi Arabia, and the USA? What possible strategies could these powerful nations be employing against one another? How might China and Saudi Arabia collaborate to challenge the USA's global dominance? In today's video, we'll uncover the complex dynamics and potential implications of this tripartite relationship. Get ready to embark on an insightful journey as we explore the chessboard of global politics and the moves that could change the balance of power forever. Stay with us and prepare to see the world in a whole new light. The Middle East is a very complex region and has long been a hotbed of conflict and tension, with Saudi Arabia and Iran locked in a bitter rivalry for decades. However, there has been a breakthrough in this long-standing feud thanks in large part to China. China has been playing an increasingly important role in the Middle East in recent years, both economically and diplomatically. And now China has brokered a historic peace deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran, two of the region's most powerful nations. The deal that China has brokered will lead to a resuming of diplomatic relationships between Saudi Arabia and Iran, after that relationship broke down in 2016, following Iranian demonstrators storming the Saudi embassy in Tehran, following Riyadh's execution of a prominent Shia Muslim cleric. The Saudi Arabian-Iran conflict is a long-standing feud that has had significant impact on the Middle East region. It has been marked by political, economic, and religious tensions between the two countries for over 4 decades, dating back to the Islamic Revolution in Iran in 1979. The root of the conflict between Saudi Arabia and Iran lies in their religious differences. Iran is a predominantly Shia Muslim country, while Saudi Arabia is a predominantly Sunni Muslim country. The two sects have long been at odds with each other, with each side accusing the other of apostasy and heresy. During the reign of Iran's Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the two countries enjoyed close relations, with Iran even purchasing weapons from Saudi Arabia. However, following the Islamic Revolution in 1979, the relationship between the two countries began to deteriorate. Iran's new leadership, led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, criticized Saudi Arabia for its close ties with the United States and accused it of being a puppet state of the West. The conflict between the two countries intensified during the Iran-Iraq War from 1980 to 1988, when Saudi Arabia supported Iraq against Iran. The two countries also became embroiled in a proxy war in Yemen, where Iran-backed Houthi rebels have been fighting Saudi-led forces. The conflict reached a boiling point in 2016 when Iranian protesters stormed the Saudi embassy in Tehran in response to Saudi Arabia's execution of prominent Shia Muslim cleric Nimr al-Nimr. This led to Saudi Arabia severing diplomatic ties with Iran and imposing economic sanctions. The Saudi Arabian-Iran conflict has had a destabilizing effect on the Middle East, with each country seeking to exert its influence in the region. Saudi Arabia has sought to promote Sunni Muslim interests and has been a key player in the formation of the Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC, a regional alliance of Sunni Arab states. Meanwhile, Iran has sought to spread its revolutionary ideology throughout the region and has been accused of supporting Shia Muslim militias in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen. The conflict has also had economic implications for the region, with the two countries competing for dominance in the oil market. Saudi Arabia is the world's largest oil exporter, while Iran is the 4th largest. This has led to tensions between the two countries over oil prices and production levels. The China broker in this deal in the Middle East represents a significant triumph. Let's take a look at why. Firstly, the fact that China was able to successfully broker this deal indicates its growing influence in the Middle East. As the world's largest importer of oil, China has increasingly become interested in the region's politics and conflicts. Its role in mediating the Saudi-Iran conflict demonstrates its ability to play a constructive role in the region's affairs, and suggests that it is viewed as a neutral and respected actor by both countries. Secondly, the deal reflects China's strategic interest in the Middle East. With its Belt and Road Initiative, China has been expanding its economic presence in the region. The Saudi-Iran deal could help reduce regional tensions and create a more stable environment for Chinese investments and trade. Lastly, the deal may have implications for China's relationship with the United States. The US has long been a key ally of Saudi Arabia and has taken a tough stance against Iran, including imposing economic sanctions. The China-brokered deal will certainly reduce US influence in the region and weaken its relationship with Saudi Arabia. It will also likely lead to a shift in the balance of power in the Middle East, with China emerging as a key player. For many years, there has been conflict in the Middle East, and up to now, the only supposed peacemaker has been the USA. However, the US failed to bring any peace at all to the region, instead favoring war and destruction. Just look at the US's invasion of Iraq. which it turns out was all based on a pack of lies. So in the eyes of many, the USA has lost all its credibility in the Middle East. I'm quite sure that there were alarm bells going off in Washington when the news of this peace deal broke. While the US is busy fighting a war against Russia using Ukraine as a proxy, China has brokered possibly one of the most significant peace deals in the last 40 to 50 years. And I think it's something that takes a great deal of skill and diplomacy, and is something that China should be commended for. So what does this deal actually mean for the Middle East and for the world as a whole? For starters, it could help bring an end to some of the deadliest conflicts in the region, such as the ongoing war in Yemen. The Yemeni conflict has led to a major humanitarian crisis, with millions of Yemenis facing famine, disease, and displacement. The war has also had a significant impact on neighboring countries, particularly Saudi Arabia, which has borne the brunt of Houthi missile attacks and has been accused of human rights abuses in its military campaign. The conflict has also drawn in other regional and international actors, including the United States, Iran, and has further fueled sectarian tensions in the region. The war has thus had far-reaching implications for the Middle East's stability, security, and political dynamics. The war has exacerbated sectarian tensions between Sunni and Shia Muslims, and has led to the spread of extremist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Yemen and beyond. The conflict's impact on the region is likely to be felt for years to come, as it has set a dangerous precedent for the use of proxy wars and military intervention to pursue regional interests. Of course, there are many other conflicts and issues to be resolved in the Middle East, but this peace deal could be a significant step in the right direction. China's growing influence in the Middle East has significant geopolitical implications for other major powers such as Russia and the European Union. China's Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to expand its economic reach across Asia and beyond, has already made significant inroads in the region. And the recent breakthrough in the Saudi Arabian-Iran conflict brokered by China suggests that its influence is only set to grow. For Russia, China's increasing influence in the Middle East presents both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, China's growing economic ties to the region could provide a boost to Russia's own economic interests in the region, particularly in the energy sector. However, Russia may also see China's expanding presence in the region as a challenge to its own influence and geopolitical ambitions. Russia has traditionally been a key player in the Middle East, with close ties to countries like Syria, Iran, and Egypt, and may view China's growing role as a potential threat to its own strategic interests. For the European Union, China's growing influence in the Middle East presents similar challenges. The EU has long been a key player in the region, particularly in terms of promoting democracy and human rights. However, China's growing economic ties to the region may undermine the EU's efforts to promote its own values and interests in the region. Additionally, the EU may also see China's expanding presence in the Middle East as a potential threat to its own energy security, as China's increasing demand for oil and gas could drive up prices and reduce availability for other buyers. The China-brokered peace deal will be seen by many countries as a sign of China's growing influence on the global stage. And speaking of influence, China's economic ties to the Middle East are also likely to be strengthened by this peace deal. China has been investing heavily on the region in recent years, building infrastructure projects and importing oil. With the Middle East potentially becoming a more stable and peaceful place, these economic ties will likely become even stronger, which would be a win-win situation for both China and the Middle East. Another major implication of this deal is as it affects the global oil market, which has long been dominated by Saudi Arabia and Iran. Currently, Saudi Arabia is the world's largest oil exporter, while Iran is the fourth largest. The United States was once the world's largest buyer of that oil, and at that time signed a deal with Saudi Arabia that all oil sales must be settled in US dollars, which made the US dollar the de facto currency for oil trade, and hence the US dollar became the world's reserve currency. And as almost every country in the world needs to buy oil, then every country requires to have US dollars. This is where the term petrodollar came from. Having the US dollar as the world's reserve currency gives the USA privilege that no other country in the world has, and allows the USA to print almost as much new bills as it wishes to support its massive spending on military budget, which is significantly larger than any other country in the world. However, with the increasing global influence and its push to establish the yuan as an alternative reserve currency, this may change in the very near future. The Saudi Arabia and Iran peace deal is just one example of China's efforts to deepen the economic ties with the Middle East and reduce its reliance on the US dollar. In fact, China has already made several moves to promote the use of the yuan in international trade. It has established currency swap agreements with over 30 countries, including Saudi Arabia and Iran, allowing them to trade directly in their respective currencies, bypassing the US dollar. China is also the world's largest buyer of Saudi Arabian oil and is already in advanced talks with the Saudi leadership to price some of these oil contracts in Chinese yuan. When this finally happens, it will be a major turning point in the US-Saudi relationship, as it will finally signal the beginning of the end of the US petrodollar. This will lead to a decrease in the demand for the US dollar, which will have significant implications for the US economy and its global power. The US dollar's status as the global reserve currency has allowed the US to run persistent trade deficits and maintain a large military presence overseas, which has helped to protect American power around the world. However, if the US dollar were to lose its status as the dominant global currency, it could lead to a decrease in demand for US Treasury bonds, which in turn could lead to a rising interest rates and a decline in the value of the dollar. This could harm the US economy and its ability to project its power and influence around the world. Meanwhile, China stands to benefit from the decrease in demand of the US dollar. As one of the world's largest holders of US Treasury bonds, China has long been concerned about the stability of the dollar and its potential impact on its own economy. By promoting the use of the yuan in international trade, China can reduce its dependence on the US dollar and increase its own economic power and influence. The peace deal brokered by China is just one example of how China is increasing its economic and political influence in the Middle East, and how this could potentially impact the global balance of power. As China continues to grow and assert its influence on the world stage, it will be interesting to see just how the US responds and how the global balance of power evolves in the years to come. Together with other world events that have occurred over the past couple of years, it is now more obvious than ever that we are finally moving away from a world dominated by the USA and its rules-based order, a system that always favors the USA, to a more multipolar world, where many more countries are involved in defining the rules. That can only be a good thing, and the sooner the USA comes to terms with this new multipolar world, then the sooner the world may become a more peaceful place. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we upload new videos.